Hello, friends. If you are an international student studying in Canada or on a postgraduate work permit, then one of the options for getting Canadian PR is through Newfoundland and Labrador International Graduate Stream. So we'll talk about all of that in detail in this video. But I just want to highlight a few things which make this stream really good. One of them is there is no application fee. Processing time seems to be very low, and there's no language requirements for if your job offer is in tier 0, 1, 2, or 3, which is a very unique thing as far as PNP is concerned. So my name is Sandhu, and I'm a CICC licensed immigration consultant based out of Ontario, Canada. And without any further ado, let's dive into today's presentation. Let's look at the overview of the process. So the first thing is you need a job offer. And the job offer has to be in tier 0, 1, 2, 3, or 4. And if it's in tier 4, it has to be in-demand occupation. And the candidate must also hold a postgraduate work permit that has at least 4 months validity remaining at the time of application. The second thing is related to field of study. This is pretty relevant if you're an out-of-province graduate. So out-of-province graduate also must work at least for 1 year in Newfoundland and Labrador prior to submitting their NLPNP application, and also required to hold a full-time position related to their field of study. There is some exception to students or graduates from Memorial University and College of North Atlantic, which are both in Newfoundland and Labrador. So we'll talk about these requirements later. So the third step is you submit your NLPNP application, and if you're nominated, you will apply for your post-residency application to IRCC. And if your work permit is, let's say, expiring within like 4 months or 3 months or whatever, and then you might also able to get a work permit support letter and able to get the work permit as well. And then you become a permanent resident of Canada. So these are the steps. Now, if you look at the estimated processing time, it is around 1 month, right? After submission of the application, they do the application screening, do the due diligence, and then final assessment and decision. So now let's look at the eligibility. As the first thing is very important, which is that you need to be on a postgraduate work permit. That's number one, because this is an international graduate stream, right? And then you need to have a full-time job or a job offer in a NOC tier 0, 1, 2, 3 occupation or a tier 4 in-demand occupation, which is a full-time, which means 30 hours per week. And it should also basically show that, this job offer is for at least 1 year in duration with a reasonable expectation of extension at the time of NLPNP application from an eligible Newfoundland and Labrador employer. So we'll talk about that also in some detail. And the compensation should be a salary, not, for example, a commission or something like that. It should meet the provincial employment standards, and it should meet the prevailing wage rates. So those are important things. And third point is that you need to have a qualification, skills, training, and accreditation required for the job. Applicant must demonstrate the NOC code employment requirements. So that is an important understanding. Be it between 21 to 59 years old and have the intention and ability to permanently settle in the Newfoundland and Labrador. So this is an important thing where people basically gloss over and just kind of miss that. Intention to reside in permanently in Newfoundland and Labrador is an important consideration for typically every PNP, including this one. Because some people assume that just, you go there and apply and they will give you the nomination. They want to find out that, do you have any properties outside that province? Do you have very strong ties outside that province? If that's the case, then you will find challenges in getting the nomination. Then you need to have a sufficient funds and financial resources. If the applicant has ownership stake, it cannot be more than 10%. And the most important part, let's look at the field of study, right? So applicants to the international graduate category should hold a full-time position that is related to their field of study from the post-secondary program they completed in Canada. But there is one exception, which is for Memorial University and College of North Atlantic. They are permitted to hold a position that is not directly related to their field of study, provided they meet the following criteria, which is NOC code requires a post-secondary degree or diploma and corresponds to tier 0, 1, 2, 3 occupation or tier 4 in-demand occupation, and can reasonably be expected to lead to career advancement for the applicant in a field of study in which the applicant recent in the last 5 years combination of skills, experience, training according to NOC description, and it's full-time for at least 1 year with the possibility of extension as verified by the employer, right? So those are the important things. And if the application completed the studies in a post-secondary institution outside of Newfoundland and Labrador, the job and job offer must be related to the field of study. And the out of province candidate must also work at least for 1 year in Newfoundland and Labrador prior to submission of the PNP application. Then very interesting thing is related to the language requirements. There is no language requirements if you're in tier 0, 1, 2, or 3. But if you're in tier 4, then the language requirements are pretty low as well. It's CLB 4, which is, in case of ours, general is going to be listening 4.5, reading 3.5, writing 4, and speaking 4. Then there is a list of in-demand occupations. If you can see in the healthcare, you have physicians, nurses, and things like that. And then if you have in-demand ICT occupation, these are all IT related, which is software developers, .NET developers, and things like that. And if you go look at the technical specialists, so you have security specialist, data analyst, these are also pretty much, seems to be related to the IT. And if you have in-demand aqua culture sector occupations, some of the job titles are captain, facility technician, system manager, cage site technician, site manager, area manager. Now let's look at the employer requirements. We're just going to gloss over some of the important things which, comes out. So the employer obviously has to be permanently established in Newfoundland and Labrador and should have been in the current management for at least 2 years. And they also need to have a certain full-time permanent employees. For example, if they are in the St. John census metropolitan area, the employer must have at least 2 permanent full-time local employees. Otherwise, they need at least 1 permanent full-time local employee in the staff. They need to have a history of sound workplace and business practices. And then there are certain job offer, that meets the applicable laws and regulations, right? So obviously, some of the things which we have already previously discussed, that it has to meet the employment requirements, the job offer must meet wage standards. It cannot be just a commission job and those kind of things, right? Then we have the recruitment effort by the employer. So in this case, since it's a postgraduate work permit based, so as you see, the job vacancy assessment is not required for individuals to be eligible for the NLPNP International Graduate Stream. Now let's look at the document checklist. As you can see in the document checklist, so this is a generic document checklist, but there are a few things which may not be relevant in your context. So first is that you need to have a passport. If you have worked previously, you need to have work permit, or if you studied previously, obviously you will have a study permit, so you want to show those documents. Then you have identity and civil status document like birth certificate, marriage certificates. Then proof of full custody. I mean, it's applicable in certain scenarios. For example, if the dependent child is coming and the other parent is not accompanying, and those kind of things, scenarios, right? Then you need to have employment information. You need to show at least 4 recent pay stubs, T4 from the last year, if applicable. And then you have basically employment related documents like employment contract, NLPNP employment offer. And if you are working in a regulated profession, then basically valid registration with the regulatory body. And if so, for your settlement funds, so you need to show your 3 months bank statements, bank certificate, any mortgage documents, investment documents if applicable. As far as education is concerned, then you need to show your transcripts and diplomas, proof of your language proficiency. As we discussed, that it's only required, for example, if you are in tier 4, and then police certificates and proof of relationship to the family if applicable. And then they also have many documents related to federal forms. So, you can go over them and you have to fill all of them and submit with the application. If you need help, my contact information is 437-848-7200. So book an appointment by going to my website, which is www.dilimmigration.com. You can always hop to my YouTube channel. We have created tons of videos on different PNP options and immigration pathways and tips and tricks and analysis. I hope you find this video useful. Please like and subscribe to the channel, and also maybe hit the bell icon so that you're notified every time I, post a new video. So thank you so much and have a wonderful Canadian immigration journey.